How now, brown cow? How now, brown cow? I know you guys are thinking that just because the Packers won yesterday, that I'm going to tell you something crazy like they're going to win the Super Bowl. I don't think that. I think we learned something about the Packers or we learned something about the Bears yesterday, possibly both, possibly neither. I'm not going to be a homer. I'm just going to put this up because it has a lot to do with our show tonight, and you're going to find out why in just a few moments here. Let's go.
Bowling with the fat?
Bowling with the fat.
Get fat.
Got it.
Hello.
This lane. I think
I would like to challenge Matt Bozak.
Scotty Bull.
Jason Belmonte.
Good Monday evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Bowling with the Fef, a platform for you to share your unique bowling story live on our YouTube channel. We are back, and Jay Santos is here as usual. Hi, Jay. Always appreciate you tuning in live. If you are like Jay and tuning in live, feel free to hit us up in the live chat. It's open right now. He's already intrigued. So, yeah, I'm absolutely going to tell you more. If your team replay, leave us a comment. I see them all, and I will get back to you just as soon as I can. They've been coming in fast and furious lately, and that's great. Love the engagement and the interest in the channel. Flush in the Pocket. Derek is here. Hey, Fef. Hey. Derek put out a great episode that I'll admit I haven't seen yet. With Charlie Tapp, a former guest of ours, and Joe Hutchinson, and I'm looking forward to catching that one on replay. But check out Flush in the Pocket too, if you are interested in bowling content that's pretty similar to mine. Anyway, 8 was enough for the great PBA star AJ Johnson. He was the guest on episode 5 of this show, if you remember, early on in the run. I also interviewed him at the 2022 World Series of Bowling. The Oswego, Illinois product traveled to Sweden and ended up taking his first PBA Tour title at the Lucky Larson Masters. He knocked off Jesper Svensson, 220 to 174 in the title match on Sunday. And afterwards, he told an interviewer that he had actually ripped his thumb in 2 places during the semifinal and just kind of fought through it, which really makes this story even more amazing. He told that interviewer, I've finished second for a title, I think 5 times before this. He says, I've made a lot of TV shows, have been a part of some great moments with Team USA. And for our last event of the year over here in Sweden, that we could win a title to get it done. Like I said, I don't have words right now. It's just, I've got a lot of emotions, and I can only imagine the emotions that were pouring out of AJ. It had been 8 years on tour for him before getting this win, and he got it done there. Johnson will compete in both the PBA League as a member of the Las Vegas High Rollers, which starts on the 23rd of this month in Portland, Maine. You'll also catch him in the PBA League Certification National Championships Clash, which will be on tape, but on television on, I believe, FS1 on October 1st. So congratulations to AJ. It's been a long time coming and certainly overdue, as talented as he is, but good to see he got the monkey off his back and got that first PBA title. Chip Magnet. They're the salsa company that makes this show look like it does, and I am forever grateful for Chip Magnet. This one is wildly delicious. It's my favorite. Might even be yours too if you give it a try, and I would highly encourage you to do so because it is a fantastic product. You can also try mango habanero and many other flavors. They are based in Eau Claire. They distribute salsa, relish, and a whole lot more to stores in more than 38 states and Canada. If you are in the Twin Cities of Minnesota, you can find it at Whole Foods, Nolan's Festivals, Kowalski's, Lunds and Byerly's, and most all small co-op stores. Or you go to chipmagnetsalsa.com. If it's your first time ordering, enter the promo code BWTF2023. You get 20% off your purchase of $30 or more, limit one order per email address. A fantastic deal for those of you who are just getting familiar with Chip Magnet. And like I said, highly encouraged by me and everybody involved with Bowling with the Fef. Chip Magnet, raise your snack standards. And a big fat thank you to everyone at Chip Magnet for supporting Bowling with the Fef. Well, our guest tonight is a familiar face at the check-in counter at a tournament series in the Twin Cities called That's What I Do. Dani Hatten of Burnsville takes your entry fee. She assigns you your starting lane, takes down scores, and if you're having a good day, she might even pass you an envelope full of cash, which is always fun. Like I said, she's in Burnsville tonight and live with us on a show that we are calling In Pink, for good reason. Dani is coming up right there.
There I am.
Better late than never. Dani Hatten, one of the organizers of That's What I Do, and one of the girls in pink. At least that's what many of us who have bowled the tournament before know you as. I can't say I've heard it referred to as girls in pink lately. Is that still a thing?
I am the last of the girls in pink that show up regularly. I have a boy that won't wear pink. Shout out to Josh Tagg. He has been my awesome sidekick for probably about a year and a half now.
Okay.
But when we started, it was me and my cousin Siri, or a lot of people thought she was my daughter, but she's my cousin. And we got hot pink shirts so that we could see each other across the bowling alley when we needed something. So that's how the girls in pink started. And then a couple of my girlfriends did it. Mary Larson jumped in. We had Jessica doing it for a while. We had Holly doing it for a while. So we all got fluorescent hot pink shirts so that we could be seen. And when the tournaments first started, we had Mike in lime green so that we could see him from across the way too. So that's the story behind the bright pink. It's also my favorite color, but behind the bright pink shirts is so that we could, when there was only two of us working the entire tournament, we could find each other quickly if needed.
Yeah. And kind of a neat thing for those of us involved in it too, because it's easy to find, right? You find the person with the pink shirt.
Well, truth be told, a lot of people didn't know my name when we first started the tournament. They called me Hatton's Girl.
Okay.
And a lot of people called me Dana. So it's not my name.
Okay.
I got the Ting Ting song playing in my head for that.
Sure.
It's not my name.
Not my name.
They know me now. We've been doing it for 8 years. 8 years.
8 years. Wow.
Yeah. Long
That's
time.
A long time. Yeah. Look at this. See, Jim's here. Says he's going to wear his pink jersey the next time he bowls there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we should have one tournament that everybody that wears pink gets like a door prize, or like we'll have a drawing or something.
I thought you were going to say bonus pins.
But we don't do bonus pins.
I would have been on that bandwagon real fast.
I'll add one extra pin to your
One pin?
handicap for everybody that wears a pink shirt. No, I won't. I won't do that.
Yeah. You might get some blowback for that. Speaking of the event, you just had a no-tap doubles event at Bolero Lakeville yesterday. Tell us about that. How it went, who took the top prize, all that good stuff.
Oh, you want me to remember who won? We had 2 shifts going on. Paulie, Laura, and Ader won the second shift. And I want to say Paulie, Laura, and his wife won the first shift.
Okay.
Maimua. We had a great time. I love Lakeville Bolero. Felicia and her staff and Kyle, they're great out there. Service is great. It was kind of a hard shot. And people were struggling. The scores weren't too high, which is what I like to see for a no-tap tournament, because then we don't have to change scores around, because the highest game you can bowl is a 300, not a 301, not a 302. As I have to explain at every single no-tap tournament when I adjust people's scores, and they're like, my total was a 908.
Yeah.
That's not possible, guys. 908 is not possible. So very little of that going on. We had a total of, it was actually a light day for us. We had, football started. So
Yeah.
we had 16 teams the first shift, and I want to say 14 the second shift.
Okay.
And my husband paid out 3 spots for the second shift for funsies. So because he loves you guys and he overpays out spots all the time. So
Yeah.
we usually do 1 in 5 cash ratio. And I was explaining to him that if we're doing 1 in 5, that equals 15 teams. And he said he
That's
didn't care
this
and he was
guy.
still going to pay it out.
That's Mike. He's the one. So that's why I put up his picture right away.
Where did you find that picture?
Actually, I took this picture. This is
Okay.
This is a Pfeff original. It was at Hudson, and he just happened to be. I saw him right up against that fantastic logo and that fantastic panoramic shot of Lambeau Field, and I couldn't help myself.
That is his favorite hangout spot when we go to Hudson.
Okay, yeah,
It's
right
right
up
in the
there by the
entryway
door.
there by the door.
Yeah. So, like I said, couldn't resist. But you've got an event coming up a week from Sunday, Dracula's 32 Bowl in Inver Grove Heights, Minnesota. It is a beat the board sweeper. So tell us how that works.
Okay, so you guys will come in and we have separate divisions. So we want everyone to be able to compete, right? So if your average is above a 191, we put you in our silver division and you are bowling against people in your division. So then the just starting out to just okay bowlers like myself, we would be in the bronze division. And you bowl against your own areas. As long as we have enough people in the upper division to do separate payouts, we do that. If not, we'll throw everybody together. Whichever's going to get more money in the winner's pocket is what we do.
Okay.
And you're going to bowl 3 games, high score wins. So this is the really quick, you'll make it home before football's really kicking off for the day. Dracula's always has football up on the screens for us so you can watch the game while you're bowling. And it's a quick event. You'll be home before the 7 o'clock games for sure.
Okay. And a fantastic center. Been there many times, as has the tour. So always glad to see a stop there.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be bowling at Dracula's this year. So I love
cool.
going out there. I start league on Saturday. I've been told every other Saturday.
You've been told?
I've been told. I'm not the best at keeping track of my bowling schedule, but people tell me. They're like, Dani, you bowl this week. And I go, oh, okay. I'm on it. I'll be there.
Yeah.
But it's a great center. They got good food. The staff is super friendly and nice. I love going there. It's great.
Yeah. And a long history in the Twin Cities for sure. So, best of luck to everybody who's going to be competing there. You were telling me before we went on that you've got some concerns about a couple things. Let's start out with women's bowling. There's a women's bowling.
Oh, I thought we were going to save this towards the end. Let's talk about women's bowling.
Let's talk about women's bowling. The floor is yours. Tell us your concern, Dan.
Okay. Ladies, you came to me. Actually, you came to Mike and you said, we want a women's only tournament. And you did that for years. And then Mike finally said, you know what? We're going to do a women's only tournament. And 20 people showed up.
Uh-oh.
There's a lot more than 20 people in the Twin Cities.
Yep.
And Mike, being as generous as he is, I would have given you guys a high five and paid out the first place. Everybody thinks I'm the nice one. Mike is really the nice one in this group. I'm just going to put that out there.
Do we have you all wrong?
Maybe. Everyone's always like, oh, Mike's the mean one. Dani's so nice and so sweet. And I'm like, no, we say, I love that picture. And we always say that we're going to pay out 1 in 5. I'm like, I know how to do math. I do it for a living, dear. And that does not equate to the 8 people that you're paying out. But when Mike puts out a pay schedule and he's like, this is what we're going to pay. First place is guaranteed this. You know that he is going to pay that out.
Oh, yeah.
So we still paid out top 8 for our women's tournament. And we had one once a month for a solid 6 months.
Okay.
And the roster would grow because we keep all our averages and everything, but it wouldn't be the same people showing up. So we'd average between 20 and 30 ladies, and it wouldn't be the same 20 or 30 ladies. If we could just get everyone to show up for the same tournament, we could have killed it. Yeah. But women's bowling in general, like what started my frustrations, and when I told Mike to run this tournament, I actually had won one of the city tournaments. I came in first place. And I was jazzed because back then, I mean, this was years ago, I was probably only a 150 average bowler back then.
Okay.
And I bowled out of my mind that day. And I got first place and I was super excited. And the prize fund was $75 for first place.
Oh,
And that broke my heart
that's
because
hard.
I bowled 9 games that day. My entry fee for the 3 separate for doubles, singles, and then team was $75.
Mm.
So I did all that bowling. I beat up on everybody and I got my money back. And
Jeez.
that's very disheartening for me because
That's tough, yeah.
that's why women don't show up to the women's tournament. So we wanted to rewrite the game, right? We wanted this to be like, Mike was like, "This is your tournament, go run it." And I was like, "Cool, let's do it."
Mhm.
And then everybody was like, "Well, my husband's bowling over here or my boyfriend's bowling over here, so I'm going with him." And they didn't come to the tournament. And I'm like, "We can't build it unless we all do it together."
Yep. How many would you
Mhm.
say is the goal for something like that to make it worthwhile?
A minimum of 40, I think.
Okay.
Like for like a decent payout, because we really don't keep that. We don't pay ourselves well at all. We have full-time jobs.
Mhm.
This isn't that, we make some money, but we don't do this to make money. I would say 40 is a solid number because we like to pay out the top 8 spots.
Sure.
Even during the summer with my Grimalkin tournaments, we pay out the top 8 spots. So
Mhm.
40 is, 1 in 5 of that. And that would make a magic payout for all you ladies. So
Yeah.
if we talk Mike into relaunching it and we do it next summer, I'd like to see everybody come out.
There you go.
It's once a month.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you need any help getting the word out, that's kind of what I do. So that's
See
what
what you did there.
I do. So
Um,
I'd be happy to let the folks know.
Before Pep and I got on live, we talked about Pee-wee's Playhouse and how that was going to be the magic or the secret word of the day. And we were going to start going, every time
Yeah.
someone said that's what I do.
Yeah, it was a part of both of our childhoods, so might as well. Okay, so we've got some comments here. Derek says, "Shout out to Dana from StreamYard." Hi, Danny. Nice to meet you. Jim says, "Bonus pins." See, he's on board with the bonus pins idea. Jay says, "That's a nice pink. The pink they use in the NFL and MLB doesn't really look pink to him." He says, "Women, am I right?" And that's usually an October thing for breast cancer awareness. And Jay says, top 8 payout is too much for 40 participants, in my opinion. Too much is good, right?
I mean, wouldn't you rather be overpaid than underpaid?
There you go. Yeah.
There's very specific things that we do at our tournament that we feel that make us stand out from other tournaments.
Mhm.
We overpay. Last place is always double your entry fee. Okay. So if you pay $40 for a tournament and we pay out 20 people, you can guarantee that 20th place is a minimum of $80.
Wow.
That's what we always do. So 1 in 5 would be 8 spots. We never bowl our own tournaments.
Mhm.
If you see us bowling, it's just for bragging rights, and we give our spot away when we beat you.
Sure.
It's not
Okay.
if we beat you; it's when we beat you.
Because
that's what Hattons do.
I've crossed with Mike before. It's definitely a when with him, that's for sure. But no, that's cool stuff. I mean, certainly not something that you see everywhere. And that debate, I guess I'll leave to the rest of y'all. But no, that's a cool thing for folks who pay attention to stuff like that. The other concern you had was a more economic concern.
Yes. Okay. Guys, I know the economy right now is not the best and prices are going up. And you're moving the cameras around on me.
Giving you full screen here.
So a lot of the centers are trying to raise our price at the center. And we are fighting tooth and nail to keep prices low for you guys. Because we know, and I see it at the check-in table. The people who used to play like every side pot and all the brackets have skimmed down on their orders when they're at the check-in table. And that's cool. I get it. But it's getting apparent that prices might have to change in the future. or we reformat. Like our singles events are no longer 4 games. We do 3-game singles events now.
Yeah.
Also gets us out of there faster so that the centers can have more open play quicker. But in general, how do I word this nicely? I told you I wasn't going to cuss on your live stream.
It's okay.
The the centers are still going to make their money because we all eat and drink.
Mm-hmm.
Like our bowlers like the bar.
Yeah.
That's great. They're going to make higher money off their ticket prices if we keep the tournament prices lower.
Mm-hmm.
Because that $20 that they have left in their pocket, that from us not having to raise the prices on our pots and on our entry fees, is going to go into the bar.
Yep. That's
my opinion on it. Like I said, we've been doing this for 8 years. I know everybody's orders when they come in. Like I make jokes, like when Pat Rogers bowls, I go, "Oh, Pat Rogers special," and I already have it marked down. Charlie Shue, Larry Steinmiller, they come in. I got them all marked down. I think we should tag everybody. Like every name drop that we do, we should like tag them when we repost.
Oh man, we're gonna have to, good memory or
make a list.
Time to really kind of review this because I'm gonna forget one or two in here. But yeah.
Yeah, but I know their orders and it's getting tough, and I get it because electricity prices go up. Everybody wants to get paid more hourly because the prices of everything else is going on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's economics 101. And I understand that, but we all have to meet like somewhere in the middle with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Because again, I don't skim off the prize fund. Like we give it all back to the bowlers because that's what we would want if we're bowling.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many tournaments, like I love it when people go to tournaments, right? Other people's tournaments.
Sure.
And they advertise these ginormous first place payouts. And then second place is like your entry fee back.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
We don't like to be like that. And it's happened to me too. Like the rare weekend that we do have off from bowling, running tournaments that we get to go bowl something, I get my prize check back. And I was like, well, that almost covered the gas and the entry fee for coming out here. So that's where we try to draw the line and with the economics. But shout out to our houses that we go to on the regular. They work with us. We try to take care of each other and we try to let them have minimal staff if it's early in the morning. Like if you give us permission to go behind the counter and pour drinks, like pop, not your beer. I don't want to be in charge of the bar. I think I did that at Hudson Bowl one time, but I don't want to be in charge of the drinks. I'll go get a cherry Coke for somebody. Yeah. Or if you let Mike go work on your machines. I mean, we have both worked in bowling alleys on and off forever.
Yeah.
Mike knows how to do all the mechanic stuff. I know how to do all the front desk stuff. So between the two of us, we can get that done.
No, this is some video from the it's actually from the 1K event from August. But it's you talked about the economics of it all. I think it comes down to that cash ratio. I mean, you said, 1 in 5, which is pretty good if you look at the gamut of tournaments. There aren't as many now that you're going to find a 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 cash ratio.
No, not at all. Very first place prize fund heavy. Look at my crew. Look at my staff.
They're great.
We have our regulars. I got to give them shout outs because you got them on the screen. So Stephanie and Sunny come in pre-bowling and they look up everybody's averages for me and get all the beginning paperwork set out. Josh, my main guy, as always, runs the brackets and makes sure that I'm not putting 20 people on one lane because I tend to do that when I start talking to people. And then Laurel jumped in and she was helping get everything entered in onto the computer so we could start on time. Mm-hmm. My great crew there.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
No, it takes a village, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
There's times when we don't know if we're going to be busy or not, which is why it's important to sign up on the website or on Facebook. So ourselves and the center. Oh, you see that? See, that's what I do.
I'm trying to be
to the next thing.
All this, yeah.
If you scroll down on this website, we do have all the events that you can sign up, and it's going to ding Mike's phone because he's in charge of that.
Okay.
But you can sign up right there. It's got all the events, first shift, second shift.
Yeah.
Let us know that you're coming because we let the center know how many we're expecting. Even though you can still show up, it's just easier for us to plan than
Yeah.
having everyone walk in.
Sure. Yeah. And
Like if I'm going to have 120 entries, I'd like to have more staff there for you.
yep.
If
Yeah.
everybody's going to stay home and watch football, I'd like to give my staff the day off and not pay them.
Yeah.
So
So they can watch football too.
so they can watch football too. I mean, I'm not into football, but to each their own.
Mm-hmm.
And then we are better prepared to serve you guys. Nobody likes to wait in line, even though I think I'm delightful. They might not want to wait to talk to me, you know? Sometimes I get a little chatty, and then we have new people that don't know what pots to play or what's what. Like the bet you win pot is always fun to explain to someone. You know, that's Mike making fun of me, right?
I'm
How we
sure.
came up with the bet you win pot.
Oh,
I'm
yeah?
always like, oh yeah, you betcha, because my Minnesota accent comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, oh, you betcha, right? I was like, you're not funny.
I could see him doing that. All right. So hey, oh, look at this. Look at this. Hey Pfeff, should I throw a New Year's Day event in Wisconsin? Yes.
Oh, hey, we know that guy. Hi, babe.
Yes, you should. New Year's
Wink,
Day and
wink.
January 2nd and January 3rd and the 4th and the 5th.
I think he's ready for you to go set that up for New Year's Day.
I think he's baiting me into that, you know. He knows. He's smarter than you think. He's yeah.
He is the brains of the operation.
He is.
Do you
I'm
want to
sure
talk
he
about?
won't admit it, but
No, he really is. I
Mhm.
may have pushed him to start the tournament. I may have helped get it started, but that man works nonstop to make this thing happen. Like with your broadcast, right?
yeah.
Nobody sees the behind the scenes work. Like I know you just redid the front page because I ended up in your first clip that you showed. Oh, we're cute. That's at the deer park that we go to every summer.
Okay.
Fun. That's
Yeah.
our yearly trip. It's our little happy place. Fonderosa Deer Park over out in your neighborhood.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we go hang out there.
Cool.
But nobody sees all the work that he does, like coordinating with the centers to get the schedule made out, keeping up on the paperwork, re-rates, making sure there's enough funds to pay everybody. If nobody shows up and we guaranteed we have to be prepared for that, getting change. I'm supposed to update the website. I'm horrible at it. I'm supposed to put the winners on every week, and I don't do it as often as I should, and I'm sorry for that. But like,
something's got to give eventually.
well, that's
Right.
like my one thing I'm in charge of. I do all the Facebook invites and blow everybody up once per, trimester of our schedule or quarter, whichever one we're on.
And she's not kidding. If you're in it, you're going to get a phone full of notifications from her.
If we're friends on Facebook, you'll get the invite. You have no excuse to tell me if you don't know when an event is because you will get the invite.
Yep.
So that's my job. But the rest of it is Mike. And he comes up with new tournaments and he'll be like 11 o'clock at night. We'll be headed to bed. And then his brain is racing and he's scribbling out prize funds or like, hey, babe, what do you think if we did a tournament that was like this or we should do this? And nobody sees that. Like it is a lot of work we're like a well-oiled machine now, but the beginning, like
probably
it was
not always that way.
Rough. Yeah. Our first tournament was bad.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear the story on how we started?
Yeah, might as well. Let me get through these comments first. Jay wants to know if the tourney's a scratch event, and Mike responded. He said, "We do scratch once a month, King of the Hill events. We run a special event once a year where it's 2 events in one with the option of scratch or handicap both." And that's an interesting subject to me because I always feel like I'm kind of one of those in-between guys. You've got the CBA, the Central Bowlers Alliance, which is like a step below the regional, the PBA Midwest region, and fantastic players, long formats, higher entry fees, higher payouts, all that stuff. But you really, your top players in the Midwest are showing up for CBAs, and not all of us can keep pace.
Right. And 8 games is a lot of bowling.
That's a lot of bowling. Yeah. So these are shorter format, lower entry fee, And yeah, there are handicap components in most, but it gives those of us who are not quite at that CBA level a fighting chance.
Yes, and our King of the Hill events have really taken off. Mike runs those by himself usually. Because again, he works more than I do. See, I'm giving you the credit even though you aren't here.
Yeah.
He goes and runs those. Last season they were at Cedarville,
Mhm.
and he'd go pack up over there, and we were averaging like between 30 and 50, I want to say.
Okay.
Stop me if I'm lying, Mike, if you're still watching. But it was quite a turnout. He was doing great.
Yeah.
So yes, we have some scratch stuff.
Mhm.
The majority of our stuff, we are a handicap event.
Yeah.
But again, we separate a lot of stuff by division. Our
Mhm.
no taps is everybody together because it's a no tap.
Sure.
But we do separate a lot of our stuff, and especially our 1K event, our singles events. You're bowling against your own group until the very end when it's the
Mhm.
step ladder, and then it's top 3 bronze, top 3 silver, and then you hash it out to whoever's better. But yeah, we give you guys a fighting chance for you scratch guys.
Yeah, for sure. And there are plenty of CBA guys that come out to these events when the CBA isn't going on. So that's kind of a testament to that. See here, Derek says, come out to Maine. I will bowl your event. There you go. See, now my ask to come to Wisconsin doesn't sound all that bad, right?
Do we get to count it as a vacation and do other stuff? Because that's a little bit of a trip from
that's
Burnsville, Minnesota,
that's a
but
trip.
you know,
But at
I'm
least
down for an adventure. I
hey,
love adventures.
you've got your first entry right there.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
So, but before we get into, kind of how this all began with that's what I do, uh, let's start with your story. I mean, how did you get started in bowling at the beginning of it all?
Well, once upon a time, because every good story starts with once upon a time.
Mhm.
My little brother was bowling.
Okay.
Matt Swanson, my one and only brother. I shouldn't just say my little brother. My brother was bowling. Um, and we did youth bowling at Nokomis Lanes, which is no longer in existence, but I used to bowl
Mhm.
with Maddie Payne all the time. And there's another person that you gotta tag in this because I dropped his name.
Okay.
We'd go bowl every Saturday morning on youth bowling, and I was really just there to hang out with my brother, and because my brother was doing it, my mom was like, "Well, you're not staying home by yourself, so you're gonna bowl too." And that's kind of how it started. And then through high school, I made friends with it, and I just kept with it. I was not good. I averaged maybe, and I'm talking years into it, third year, I was still at a 140 average.
Okay.
So I'm left-handed, which plays into me and Mike's story later, but
Yeah.
I threw a backup ball.
Okay.
So, and an extreme backup ball. I'm talking the big S hook, because my dad, who was one of the coaches, I mean, he got my brother. My brother throws a phenomenal ball. He can not bowl for years, pick up his one ball that he has and start throwing strikes with it right away. Nothing's falling off. Me, I take a little more work than it. And my dad just could not teach a lefty how to do the reverse of what he was doing. And there was Sarah Allman was on this league too. I bowled with Sarah, and her dad was a coach, and he tried with me, and Matt Payne's dad tried with me. None of them could get me to throw proper.
So you're the problem child at this point.
Yeah, I'm really stubborn, and apparently listening was not my greatest skill back then. So I did that all through high school, and I think I bowled one season out of high school at Airport Bowl with my brother.
Okay.
And then I was done. And I didn't bowl for 10 years plus.
Okay.
And then my bowling story falls into how I met Mike.
Okay.
So then later on in life, I was going through a divorce and super depressed. And my little brother was like, "Hey, you still got your bowling ball?" And I go, "It's in a closet somewhere." He's like, "I'm going to bowl a lotto league down at Midway. You should come down this summer. We'll put a team together. It's just fun. It'll get you out of the house." And I grudgingly said, fine,
Mhm.
and got my ball out of the closet. So my roommate at the time, my brother and me were on this team. And then Matt says, hey, there's this guy that bowls with me and Dad. He's really, 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 really good. And he's going to balance out how crappy you're going to be. And I was like, all right, cool, random dude that's going to come bowl.
Yeah.
And I show up first night at Lotto League. I got my one little like old school, I have one ball, plastic ball, right?
Mhm.
In my little like one ball case. And I go down there, throw my first ball in the gutter. First one, 10 years, threw it straight in the gutter. That was during warm-ups. So warm-ups is done, and they put the crappy bowler first, which was me. So I'm number one on there. And this fourth guy isn't here yet. And Matt's like, oh, don't worry about it. He comes running in right. He works at Ford. He's busy. He'll be here right when we start. I was like, cool, let's do that. Am I allowed to cuss right now? Am I
Yeah.
allowed to cuss?
Yeah.
So I'm up on the lane, right? And I throw my first ball and I turn around and there's this guy standing there.
Like,
Oh, am I back? I pulled
Yep,
out
you're
my
back.
thing.
We didn't
Okay.
hear that. We got to this.
A guy standing there just staring at me. And he looks at me and goes, what the fuck was that? And I'm taken aback, right? Because this random dude comes up and just starts cussing at me. And I got an 8 count. Like, I
Yeah.
thought I did pretty good for not bowling for 10 years. And I go, hi, my name's Dani. I'm Matt's sister. And I put my hand out to shake his. He goes, oh, no, I know who you are. What was that? So that was me and Mike's very first interaction in life. So he knew my dad and my brother for 4 or 5 years before this. I actually wanted to bowl before I started bowling the Lotto League. My dad and my brother were bowling with my uncle and my cousin, and then my uncle's brother-in-law, so his sister's brother and his kids.
You've really got a family full of bowlers.
My grandpa was a bowler on my dad's side. My grandma on my mom's side was a bowler. I have a really cool, my grandpa passed away probably like 4 or 5 years ago now, but I have one of his bowling jerseys from back in the, I don't know, 50s, 60s.
Okay.
It says First Free Church on the back, and it's hot pink like this. And it says Al on it, and I wear it randomly. It's my size.
Yeah.
So he had dementia real bad, and I used to wear it when I'd go visit him. He goes, I used to have a shirt like that. I'm like, did you, Grandpa? Did you?
Yeah, what a coincidence.
I was like, yeah, that's weird.
Mhm.
Weird. Al, weird. But I wanted to bowl with them, but no chicks allowed. So they were bowling men's leagues, and it was kind of, their team name was It's All Relative, which I thought was clever because you know, they're all related. And they'd move every couple of years based on, because they all lived all over the Twin Cities. So they did a couple of years at Southtown for, you know, my cousin and my uncle, because I was close to their house. And then they went up to, I want to say Flaherty's. I think they were up in Arden Hills for a couple of years. Was it Flaherty's or New Hope? I don't remember, but they were up that way. And then they went to Midway. And then they kind of fizzled out. Everybody, all the cousins started having kids and whatnot, and they kind of fizzled out with bowling.
Yeah.
And then, so then it was my dad and brother. Then I was allowed to come bowl. So that's, so it started with the Lotto League. And then that blossomed with me and Mike. We started hanging out every once in a while because I would bother him. I'm like, hey, give me a lesson. Hey, left-handed dude, because we're both left-handed.
Yep.
I'm like, hey, let's go bowling. Let's go bowling. And he finally talked me into not only like throwing the ball correctly, but going up in weight. I was throwing a 10-pound plastic ball. So he got me up to a 12-pound ball and went to Don White when he had his shop over at Memory.
Yeah. Okay.
I love Don White. He used to drill all our stuff when I was kids.
He was one of my coaches when I was in high school.
I love Don. He's great. And got me in my first fingertip ball. So I went from like full plastic to the fingertip and had to build all that up. Got me bowling. And then a bunch of random medical things kept happening. So my whole bowling story is a roller coaster. I'll bowl for like 2 years. I start to like get it and like start getting lined up. I start getting kind of good at it. And then something happens. And then I take 2 years off. And then I start over again. So while at Midway, I got diagnosed with hyperthyroidism. So I was tired all the time. I stopped bowling for a while because of that, while they got me on meds and whatever for that. Then I went back to bowling, and because of so many years of throwing a backup ball and just being crazy with my hand, I popped a tendon in my thumb.
Oh no.
And one of my other side hustles besides bowling tournaments and writing books is painting.
Oh.
And I was doing a lot of paintings back then.
Okay.
And I didn't want to lose all the feeling. I couldn't hold a paintbrush. So I stopped bowling to let that heal. Got my stuff re-drilled because apparently my thumb likes to bend backwards. So we got it beveled out to fit my thumb. So I'd stop popping it out. And then I started bowling again.
Okay.
And then I had a traumatic brain injury in 2014. Did I ever tell you the story?
I think you told me the Cliff's Notes version of it.
Okay, well, I fell on the ice and I almost died. I cracked my head and knocked myself stupid. This is the short version of it.
Mhm.
But then I lost my balance. I could not bend down to throw a ball without teetering over.
Ugh.
So then my average dropped back down again. I was throwing like 140s. And that's about the time that Midway closed for the soccer stadium.
Mhm.
Mike had gone the Businessmen League, or we were bowling Thursdays. I think they moved to Tuesday nights.
Okay.
Whatever he was bowling on Tuesday nights at Midway moved over to Concord. So he went that way.
Okay.
And so my brother and I went and started bowling at Southtown, which is where I'm still bowling.
Sure.
But there's a Businessmen League there. And we just showed up first day. We didn't have a team really. It was Angie Marbles and me and my brother is who we had together. So we needed 2 other people and found them. Well, that was the second year. The first year we showed up and we're like, hey, we're here to sub. And there's a couple of teams. We still bowl against them. I like to give them crap as much as possible. They picked my brother over me because they were like, what's your average? What's your average? So like, we'll take him. Because he was averaging a 220. I mean, I don't blame him. I'd pick the 220 average bowler over the 140 average bowler any day of the week. But I'm still there at the league. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I also helped them win the championship by subbing last year and shot my highest sanctioned series of a 635.
Wow. Okay.
Which I mentioned before, one of those games was a 150.
150. Yeah.
So
the other 2 were huge.
I bowled very well. My team was very angry with me. So that's my highest series. I don't have any fancy rings. My highest title is, a couple championships with teams, but I won city. I don't know what year it was, a few years ago. Within the last decade. Whenever I was dating Mike, it was within the last decade.
Okay.
But that's really it. I am your average chick bowler.
Okay.
Your average chick fun bowler.
But listen, I reached out to Jesse Perez, who's one of your teammates at Southtown, and asked him what you were like as a teammate. And he pointed out that when he's not bowling all that good, you tell him, get your stuff together, and gives him, you give him encouragement. And sometimes that's all it takes, right?
I have a mean competitive streak within me. I don't like to lose.
Yeah.
Which is why Mike and I go so well together, because we're equally competitive with things. And he is actually on our team now on Tuesday nights at Southtown. And I love bowling with Jesse because he's such a cool dude. Like, he's just calm.
Yeah.
But when he's not bowling well, I'm like, Jesse, what are you doing? I'm like, turn your body straight, keep your arms straight, hit your mark. That's all I need you to do.
Yep.
Keep it on the lane. And I need you to get like some marks that would help. But yeah, I try to keep it light. I try to encourage everybody. I like to coach people. There's a group that we used to go bowling with all the time, like David Counts, Mike, Ant Stewart, Greg Page. They used to go bowl all these tournaments together back in the day, right? Reno. I've watched all of them bowl because back then I wasn't bowling. I was a bowling wife. Like, I'd just show up and I'd hop in the car because that's the only time I could see Mike. He was bowling 6 nights a week and then bowling ABTs on Sunday. So if I wanted to see him, I had to go to bowling.
Right.
which, that was life for the longest time, was when we first started living together, he was still bowling like 6 nights a week.
Oh my
So it
goodness.
was funny because I'd come home and he would take, whatever protein out of the freezer for dinner.
Mhm.
He wasn't there. I'd cook dinner. It would, and then I'd put his plate in the microwave and I would be in bed because I'd start work at like 6 o'clock in the morning by the time he got home. So then I'd hear him
Wow.
come in and eat his dinner.
Mhm.
And that was life for a solid 2 years in our house.
Sure.
But all those guys, I've watched them bowl forever and I can tell them what they're doing wrong. I love giving Anthony Stewart coaching because he listens to me like intently. And he'll even come up to me and be like, Dani, I need you to come watch me and tell me what I'm doing.
Sure. And for people who aren't familiar, he's a really good player.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
And so then I get kind of a big head, right? Because like I'm like the community bowling wife at those tournaments being like, well, you need to back up. You need to move over here. You need to stop noodle arming. Like it's great because I have that relationship with each one of them that I'm like, okay, here's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And I make jokes with them that I get 10% of their winnings at that point because I helped.
Yeah.
Back when Mike used to win the ABTs, when he was really on fire, that was he called it my coaching fee. I would get 10% of the pot.
Yeah.
We'd go out to dinner and he'd buy me a new pair of shoes.
Okay.
I mean,
good deal.
I will keep everybody away from you while you're bowling for 10% of your pot.
Yeah.
And a new pair of shoes.
Yeah.
So that's how that got started. So now that's the running joke. Whenever I line somebody up, I'm like, that's 10%.
10%. Yeah. All right. All right. Jay says that he has once shot 3 279s in a no tap event. Depending on the event, that might be enough to take it in That's What I Do, right?
That would definitely do it. We did have someone with shout out to Joe Dixon. I believe his series for the first set was 890.
Whew. Wow.
With it, I mean, that was with sticks and everything, but he was at 890 for the first shift.
So he was cooking.
Unfortunately, it was a doubles tournament, and that didn't cut it. But usually, 279s, that's a great game.
Yeah, for sure. Derek says, come on my show. One rule, don't be nice, let it fly. You can let it fly, right?
I mean, I'm sure my mom's watching right now. And she tried really hard at raising me to be a lady.
Okay.
And I do cuss a lot. And I try really hard on video evidence to not be that person.
Okay. Well, he didn't say swear. He just said let it fly. So I think you're in good hands there. Jay says he's not a big cusser. However, he does enjoy a well-placed F word from time to time. I think we all do. Derek wants to know how many 300s.
I was running around wearing a 300 ring on Sunday. However, it's not mine. I have 0 300s.
Is it Mike's?
It is Mike's.
Mike's ring, yeah.
So another 300 story. Okay, so my highest game is only a 289.
Okay.
It wasn't sanctioned. It was during Moonlight Bowling. I might have been a little drunk. It might have been with a plastic ball, but it happened.
Maybe. Yep.
And this is back when I was like 22, so long before I even knew Mike existed, right? I was on a date with this guy, and he was like, we should go bowling. I was like, you don't want to go bowling with me. Because I already knew that he didn't bowl. And that's when I was still like it was probably my freshman year of college, so my last year bowling.
Okay.
He goes, no, let's go bowling. We went to Nokomis Lanes, Moonlight Bowling. We went bowling, and my 20-pound cat's going to jump on the table. So if the computer goes flying, it's Triton.
Like I told you before, not the first time.
He's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Oh, because the other cat is sleeping in the table. Okay. We're going to have a cat fight. It'll be fun. But I went bowling with this guy, and he bet me $5. $5 is $5. I am not one to who am I to turn down a bet?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to beat him.
Right.
And he was just talking a lot of smack. So I had to keep throwing strikes. And I didn't know what I was doing either. He goes, that's a lot of strikes. I thought you weren't that good. And I'm like, I'm not. But that was my highest game.
Yeah.
But my husband has, and he can type in the actual answer, but I think it's like 13,300s?
Okay.
Question mark.
He says he's still looking for a venue for his New Year's Day event. I've got two for you. You can come to Wagner's or Bullwinkle's. Those would
Set it
be
up.
the top two, in my opinion.
Set it. Okay, so the cat that I said was going to knock the table down, I'm going to bend
Oh.
my screen here. You see him?
Oh, yeah.
That's
There you
Triton.
go. Okay.
He's joining the podcast.
There you go. Yeah, that's great.
And hopefully he doesn't unplug my headphone here.
Yeah. Looks like this is a male cat, right? A boy?
Yes, we have
Yeah.
3 orange cats. We call them the Orange Cat Gang. And
Okay.
if you see me in Mike Bowling doubles tournaments, we do have jerseys that say that on it. It has actual cartoons of each of our cats.
Cool. Okay.
So we got our jerseys made at CA Gear. They do the majority of our jerseys. And
Mhm.
they had a guy working there that did a lot of the artwork stuff.
Oh.
And right before Miller left, he went on a new adventure, a new job. But I was like, can you draw my cats? He goes, yeah, send me the pictures. He had a jersey mocked up in like 45 minutes.
Wow.
Looks exactly like our cats. So if you ever see
Huh.
those jerseys, that is the story behind those jerseys. Those are literally our cats.
Cool. That's awesome. All right. So, we've got to the part where you and Mike are together. Tell me about the origins of That's What I Do. I mean, how do you go from a bowling couple to running a tour and basically becoming, a bowling power couple in the Twin Cities, right?
Bowling power couple. I like that.
You like that?
Yeah, I'll take it.
There you go. 10%.
10% and a new pair of shoes.
Yeah.
I was not meant to start this tournament with him.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw that out there. It's kind of blossomed into that. Now he's stuck with me. But how it started, ABT had folded,
Okay.
right?
And that's the Amateur Bowlers Tour, which had a home in the Twin Cities. This is how many years ago now?
9
9 years ago?
9 or 10.
Because I know I never shot one in the Twin Cities, so it's been years.
So I can't tell you when me and Mike actually became a couple. I don't know what the exact date is. Neither one of us does. We probably have different opinions on the matter anyways, but our first date was 12 years ago. And I'm going to say we went to like 3 solid years of bowling. Oh, cute. I love that picture. He went to a bunch of ABTs, and at some point I just got a text message that says hashtag That's What I Do power couple. Bowling power couple.
From who?
From Laurel Cap.
Oh, okay.
She just texted that over. Hi, Laurel. So ABT had folded. Mike was bowling some of these other tournaments, and he was not amused. Like, he's like, they're not running this right. They're not doing this. The payouts are horrible. Ba, 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 ba. And I go, well, if you can do better, do better. And this went on for months.
Okay.
Like months. On top of that, Ford had closed down. Mike had moved to Chicago for a while. Mike came back. He was working for a temp service at the time, and he hated it. He hated everything about it.
Okay.
And he came home one Sunday, pissed off about a tournament that he had bowled, didn't want to go to work the next day. And for some reason, I was off the next day. And I just got tired of listening to it. So he came home, and I sat him down, and I go, you got a year. And he goes, excuse me? I go, quit your job. I go, you got 1 year. I will cover all the bills. I will take care of it.
Wow.
We had just started living together too, so this was me being crazy. But apparently it worked.
Yeah.
And I go, you're going to run bowling tournaments. And he goes, what? And I go, I ordered you business cards. I created a Facebook page for you. Figure it out.
Yeah.
And he was going to run it with somebody else. So that was as much as I was going to participate in it, right?
Right.
Here's your kick in the butt. I'm giving you permission. Go do it. Quit your job. I was driving cab on the side. I used to do Lyft and Uber.
Okay.
I work at Ramsey County now, but I had just started, right? So I was at the bottom of the food chain there, so I wasn't making a ton of money, and we made it work. And So that brain injury story that I kind of half told plays into our first tournament. So whoever came to our first tournament, I am sorry on what I screwed up. I was knocked silly. I didn't know what was going on. Apparently when I hit my head, I lost a lot of my Excel abilities because I used to be really good at Excel, like making pivot tables and doing all this stuff. I
Okay.
made this amazing spreadsheet for Mike that I don't even remember, right? Because I lost some time in there when I hit my head. And he goes, "How did you make this on this spreadsheet?" I'm like, "I don't know." He's like, "Well, you made it." I'm like, "Did I?" Like, gone. But our first tournament, he set it up, I believe it was on New Year's Day 2015. So I hit my head Christmas Eve 2014, so like a week before. And I was like, no, I'm gonna be good. It'll be fine, right? And the other person that was supposed to help him backed out last minute.
Oh boy.
Was not gonna do it.
Yeah.
So then it became a family affair. That's how we
Okay.
got Siri involved. She had to be 17 at the time, which is why everyone thinks she was my kid, because I was like, don't hit on the 17-year-old.
Yep.
She looks old. She's 17. And that's how that started.
Okay.
And my dad and my brother were there.
Huh.
And we had 120 people show up to our first tournament.
Wow.
We had no idea how to print the brackets properly. We were trying to do it page by page. We never got the brackets up. Like the scores were in there. It told us who got what for payouts. I couldn't print them. And I had no idea what was going on. We had bought the software and we had played with it before, and we all thought we were doing it correctly. We had to go down to Mark, who worked at Midway, and now I'm getting laughy faces at my Siri comments. I'm gonna read everything you guys are texting to me on this live stream. Hi Ben.
You got to see this stuff. I mean, first of all, Derek says, "Man, I got to find a woman like Dani. This is a bowler's dream." She's covering the expenses, and then he says, "Hey Siri, what time is it?"
No, she was around before the app.
Okay.
But yeah, so we had a family thing going on.
Yeah.
And we all hustled together and we were on such this high afterwards. And I was like, yes, you can do this. And back then we were only running a tournament maybe once a month.
Okay.
Because we had to get everyone to buy into it. We were new, right? And like everybody knows Mike, but they don't know Mike. The Mike that you guys see at the bowling alleys is not my Mike. That's not the Mike at home. My favorite day, Mary Larson and I, we have a dinner club that we call the Bowling Wives Club.
Okay.
And we started that back in the ABT days. And she comes over for dinner and hangs out and stuff, right? And her first time that she came over for dinner, and there's a couple other bowling wives here, Mike came home, right, from work. And he's calm and he's quiet. He's very introverted. Like, I'm like an extrovert, right? I can be social for a while, and then I have to quietly like slip out of the situation. Mike is like loud at the bowling alley. Yeah. But when he comes home, he's like really calm and collected. And we had dinner and he cleared the table while we were talking, because we were sitting there, we were talking, and she's watching him. And then Mary had brought cake, and I was like, oh, we should have dessert. And they're texting me. and they're she's like, we should have cake. And Mike's like, oh, I got it. And he got up and he cut his cake and he served us. And Mary was like, well, you are nothing like how you're at the ABTs. And I'm like, well, he's not,
he's trying to win
people to get some money. That's the difference. So when we do hang out with people outside of the bowling alley, which we're both homebodies, right? Like, we don't like to leave the house. But when that does happen, everybody's like, Mike's really different than he is at the bowling alley. I'm like, yeah, you guys suck all his energy out at the tournament. It takes 2 weeks for him to recharge.
Yeah.
But that's the fun of Mike. Like, not my Mike at the bowling alley, right? Yeah. He's loud and super aggressive. But so we had to talk all these bowling alleys into like wanting to work with us. And by we, I mean Mike did this. This was not a Dani Swanson at the time production. This was a Mike Hatten
Okay.
Deal, and he would go and
I've got the picture of him without you. Okay, there it is.
the cheese ball picture.
So this is a Mike Hatten production.
He's gonna kill me with all the pictures I sent you.
Okay.
He's
So
gonna kill me.
he's calling the bowling centers.
Yeah, and then Mike is a face-to-face talker. Like, he likes to actually go to the bowling tournaments, and the reason why he's wearing a Tennessee hat is because it had a T. Like, that's what I do. Just so everybody knows, he's not really a Tennessee fan.
Gotcha.
He just liked the T on it.
Yep.
And so he likes to go and actually physically talk to the people at the bowling center. He still does. Like, he's getting a little better at texting them now that, we have a relationship built with everybody. But he would go there, and then he'd go on a different day to talk to the mechanic about the shot to make sure that they're putting the right shot down and that he's advertising what the right shot is.
Yeah.
So the amount of work that this man has put into this tournament is just astronomical.
Yeah.
And there was one point, our first year, he scheduled a tournament on Super Bowl Sunday.
Oh boy.
At Midway.
Oh no.
We don't watch football in this house, right? We don't pay attention to the Super Bowl. No idea. We had 16 people show up.
Oh no. But it's early in the day. I mean,
right? Well, now
Yeah.
people know, and they show up, and we just do little sweeper events if it falls that way. But then he was ready to quit.
Really?
He was ready to throw in the towel.
Huh.
He was going to be done with it.
Okay.
And Cadillac, David Stibbins at Midway, he pulled Mike to the side and he goes, "You are not going to quit." And both of us, he was trying to quit a couple times. And I looked at him, I go, "No, it hasn't been a year yet." I go, "You're doing this for a year.
Yep.
This is what we're doing." Except not as nicely. I didn't say it as nice because we don't respond well to the niceties when we're being encouraging with each other.
Okay.
I was like, "You're not quitting. We're not doing this." It was one tournament. You can't win every tournament that you bowl. Nobody will play with you anymore. Like, it's fine. So from there, he picked himself up from his bootstraps and got moving. Mike always says that you have to go through the mud to appreciate something. When he talks about our relationship, I mean, there was times where we were flat broke, like dealing with stuff, right? We went through the mud together.
Yeah.
So the relationship grew. The tournament has gone through the mud and it has grown. So I just like to remind people, I wish I had the picture and sent it to you. There's a picture I took of Mike at Memory Lanes talking to the mechanic, and he's bent down. I think it's on my Facebook page.
Okay.
I'll have to find it. I'll post it later.
In lieu of that, we'll put up some, some more files from the, from Mike and the, the 1K event. But keep going.
But there he is. He's live streaming.
Yeah.
But just the amount of work that he does for this, and he's so passionate about it, and it's just amazing because he doesn't want to see the sport of bowling die. Like, he loves bowling so much, and he just wants to see it grow and continue to be successful.
Yeah.
The state of Minnesota doesn't have bowling like other states do. Like, yeah, we have bowling, but it's not to the extreme. Like, we go out of state to go bowl big tournaments. Like, yeah, there's some here, but not to the extent where we go elsewhere.
Was it always called That's What I Do?
Here's how it got named. We're professional wrestling fans.
Okay.
Another thing we had in common besides the bowling when we first started talking. He came over one day for dinner and turned on wrestling. He goes, "I hope this is okay." And I was like, "Oh, I was actually DVRing that, so this works."
Yeah.
But there was a wrestler named Mark Henry, and he was before he was in professional wrestling, he was a strongman, world strongman. And he would like pick up a car or something, and as he was doing that, he would yell, "That's what I do," as he's dropping it. And right around that time, Mike would throw a bunch of strikes or beat up somebody at a tournament, and he would turn around and yell, "That's what I do." And that's how the tournament got started.
Okay. Yeah.
Because throwing strikes, that's what I do.
That's what I do. Just like that, right?
Yeah, just like that. So that's how that got started. And he had always, we went back and forth on the name. When I started the site, I don't think we had it as That's What I Do Bowling, and I don't remember what it was.
Okay.
Mike, if you're in between shots, you can chime
see,
in if you
look at that.
remember.
There. Derek's with you. Mark
Mark
Henry is
Henry
awesome.
is awesome.
He says Hall of Pain.
Yes.
Yeah. So he
I've
knows.
been watching WWE since I was a little kid. My dad had me. I was a little Hulkamaniac, so
Oh, okay.
it's a whole thing in the Swanson household growing up.
Okay.
And Mike's a really big wrestling fan. So
Sure.
that's how it started. I don't remember what the original name was. And then we kind of threw it on there, kind of like a goof, right? And then it stayed. So
it works. Yeah.
now whenever we're naming something, I'm like, well, we could call it this, but how does that rope into our current, like, how are people going to know it's us?
Mm-hmm.
And then like my own, Ben Olson says, I remember Mike yelling this.
Derek wants to know who makes your shirts.
So this is my original Girl in Pink shirt.
Okay.
It's got my big old bowling ball on the front, and it says Dani Princess Swanson on the back, because we all had little nicknames in there. Like Siri is my little studious one that went to college, so it said Siri the Professor.
Okay.
Because she just she's a doctor now.
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah, it's my little Siri. But we got these at CA Gear. Shout out to Nate and his people. Our championship jerseys come from there. Some of our shirts are Bolify. Stephanie Harkless has gotten them for us. Ben Olson has gotten them for us. Ray Lissy, and I'm going to screw up which jersey brand he's from, but he's done some. But our main That's What I Do jerseys that we have is from CA Gear.
Someone just told me where Ray is, and I should know that because it was just, a week or two ago. But anyway, Mike says, winning is everything. I love meeting bowlers who have a fiery passion and a spirit for bowling.
That's beautiful.
See?
Winning is everything.
Yeah.
I started bowling better over the last 2 years, and we have only officially been married. It'll be 1 year on the 2nd of October. So it hasn't even been a full year yet. But I started bowling better, and I said, see, I have to bowl better now because I'm a Hatton. Hattons don't lose.
Mm-hmm.
So Mike always says, put respect on my name when he's bowling. So
for sure.
I beat him scratch last week, and I had to say that. One game. I mean, if I can get one game in, I'll take it.
Yeah.
If he's bowling that bad and I'm bowling that good and we meet in the middle and I can beat him, I will take it.
Yeah.
But I yelled at him. I go, Hattons don't lose. You need to throw more strikes.
Yeah. So, of course I got to ask, about bowling the tournament because, we've got people who bowl the tournament. Sarah Kashino Roberts is one of them. She said, you're a hard worker, very dedicated to the That's What I Do brand. Is that something,
thanks, Sarah,
that is kind of that you've always been, or did you have to learn that?
The hard worker and dedication part. I've always been a hustler in my own right.
Okay.
Oh, Mike's now talking to me about bowling and how he's bowling tonight. We're gonna skip that. I thought he was commenting on something to me.
Yeah.
The hard worker part. I've always been money driven.
Okay.
Always been a hustler. My very first adult job, I was the operations supervisor for Camp Snoopy.
Oh, in North America.
I went from a part-time team lead to a full-time supervisor, and then I became an operations for Mall of America. I have such a love-hate relationship with that job because it taught me how to hustle and how to be fast at what I'm doing. And it taught me organization like no other. At that job, you were the behind the scenes HR, payroll, schedules, employee relations. But then you also had to run the floor and deal with customer complaints. There's a ride down, there's an upset guest, there's this, there's that. So you never knew how much time you had to do the behind the scenes work because you didn't know how much time you had to be on the floor.
Sure.
So you had to learn to be really organized, and you had to learn to hustle with what you're doing. I'm also, have you ever taken your top 5 strengths test for that businesses give?
Probably. I can't. I'm trying to think back to when I interviewed for jobs. I
They
can't remember.
they gave us that at Mall of America when Mall of
That's a
America and
good
Camp
thing, right?
Snoopy
Can't remember.
merged together. I mean, I don't know what I am.
Yeah.
They gave us that when they merged the two businesses together. And my
Okay.
top number one thing, I was the only one at Mall of America that's a woo, and that's win others over. So it's a
Oh,
general sales thing. So
okay.
I think between everything I learned at Camp Snoopy and my general like understanding of people and like how to speak to people. I mean, there's some people I rub the wrong way, right? Because that's everybody. But in general, like understanding how people like to be talked to, like individually, I feel that that helps with the hard work aspect of it.
Okay.
And it's that whole like competitive thing too. Like, I don't want to fail, I don't want to lose.
Yeah.
And Mike is the exact same way.
Mhm.
So I think when you put the two of us together, it can get really intense with that.
Yeah.
Because if one of us feels like the other one isn't like as into the thing that we're into at that moment, trying to like push it, move it forward, then we get really frustrated with the other person.
Okay.
Like, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. I'm like, I just updated the website. That's our normal fight. I'm like, no, I just did it. I swear I did. Right. Or, there's some nights you go to league and you just don't feel good, right? You're
Right.
not going to throw the ball as good as you normally do.
Yeah.
Sometimes we got to yell at the other person and be like, I don't care that you don't feel good. You're making us lose points and I need you to beat your dude.
Be better.
know,
Yeah.
So it just all goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Overly competitive. My parents have, beat it into our heads since we were little kids that you work hard.
Okay. This thing kept growing, and pretty soon you ended up doing a summer event called the Grimalkin, which we're seeing here. This is from late July. Tell me about that name, because that is a unique name among the bowling vernacular.
And now here's the story on how the Grimalkin was born. So my husband, with his brain that never shuts off and trying to promote things, I am an author. A lot of people know that. I have my. Can people see me, or they only see the screen?
Well, hold on. Let me switch it to
30 seconds, so you can go back on them. Okay. Where am I?
You can kind of see that.
So I'm an author. I have 4 books published.
Okay.
Again, all started when I fell and I hit my head.
Oh, wow.
So before we talk about the summer series, I'm going to talk about my book, because the book came before the summer series, and that's how it started.
Right.
So again, once upon a time, I fell and I hit my head.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you the sales pitch that I give when I go to Comic-Con. Okay. Because this is the story that I tell.
Okay.
So I fell and I hit my head, and I had a traumatic brain injury. My brain sloshed forward. I had bruising around my eyes. My hair saved my life. It was like halfway down my back. I landed on it. It cushioned the blow so that I didn't bleed out on the sidewalk. Yeah. That's the very short story.
Okay.
Poor Mike is the only person I could think of calling after I came to. He was at the gym. I was not very nice to him. That's the very short version of it. It was Christmas Eve. I was trying to go to the store. I burnt the rice pudding I was making, and I needed more rice. So I went outside, fell, did that. Yeah. While my brain was healing, I started having some really crazy dreams.
Okay.
And I woke up one day and I was going like this. Can you see my hand? Okay.
Yeah.
I was going like this. And Mike goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "I can light fireballs with my hands." And he's like, "Do we need to go back to the hospital?" I was like, "I don't know, but I can light fireballs with my hands." And he let me sit there and try that for a while. And turns out I can't light fireballs with my hands.
Right.
So later down the road, I mean, fun story, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't you want to read a book and see what somebody with a traumatic brain injury thinks is going on?
Well, hey, there.
So in lieu of that, when I worked at Camp Snoopy, before I got promoted to a supervisor, I was Snoopy. I wore the suit. I ran around. I'm really short.
Okay.
And I don't know if you guys remember, there was back in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was a commercial, and there was a bunch of Peanuts characters going like this, marching in a line over a bridge. I was Charlie Brown in that.
Oh, okay.
that was in my youth, like 20 plus years ago.
Mhm.
But one of my girlfriends that I worked all the shifts with is now a young adult fantasy writer. And she was writing all these stories, and I used to write them with her. Like, we'd write stories after school and stuff, hanging out. And I had started writing down all these dreams. And I looked at Mike and I was like, Shanda's doing this, and I'm pretty sure she's making a lot of money. You think I can do that? And he looked at me. And again, remember how we motivate each other is not always like the best wording. But he looked at me, he goes, "You already know you fucking can. I don't know why you're not doing it." So I looked at him like kind of like side-eyed because I was feeling a little vulnerable with my head injury and everything. And I go, "Are you sure?" He goes, "Yeah, just go do it."
Mm-hmm.
Same thing I used to tell him about the tournaments. Yeah, just go do it.
Okay.
And so that started my writing process. So my very first book is called The Hunt of the Grimalkin.
Okay.
See, this backwards camera thing is messing with me.
Yeah.
And so what a Grimalkin is, my undergrad is in English Lit.
Okay.
And so I was really into fairy tales, and thanks, Ben. I was really into fairy tales, and Irish folklore is really cool. It's kind of like the Grimm fairy tales, equally
Okay.
like as gruesome to teach kids to not go play in the woods. It's basically what it is. So they there was a story of witches turning into these black shadowy cats and eating people's souls to live forever, and people would walk around in the woods just stupefied because they no longer had a soul.
Okay.
And all you would see coming at you in the darkness are two yellow eyes. And that is called a Grimalkin. So that started my book.
So this is fiction.
Well, yeah, super fiction. And I do have to say, like, I don't remember writing my first two books, like, at all.
Okay.
It was during the time that my brain was healing. It's a good story. It's a great story. It's an awesome story. The writing is okay. You can see the writing get better the farther you go into my book series. So the first series is 3 books.
Okay.
I do have to say the third book is great. And then a fully out of the brain fog book is my newest book, which is The Winding Woods. Oop, over here.
Yeah.
The Tales of a Boggle. So this one's about the boogeyman.
Oh.
But the Scottish version, which is called a boggle. So when you went down the coast, it went boggle to bogle to boogie. And that's how we got the American boogeyman. Except like normal American stories, we got it backwards, right? Because the boogeyman's like the bad guy that hides under the bed. The boggles actually protected the children from the shadows.
Oh.
So that's where I got the ideas from that. And that was all from my undergrad. But anyways, back to bowling, because this is a bowling podcast. My dear husband was like, "How do I help you market your books?" Because at first he's like, "I don't understand why you're not making more money off of this." And I go, "Well, babe, it's not a bowling tournament where you have a good product and they're going to show up every week. They buy one book from you, and then you have to write another one to give them something new to buy. They're not going to buy the same book over and over."
Got to feed the beast, yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, well, that makes sense." He's like, "Well, how are we going to market your book?" And then he had created he wanted to do a summer sweeper, right? And he goes, "Well, what are we going to call this thing? We're not going to call it That's What I Do because it's separate. We're going to have it separate. It's going to have separate averages. It's going to be its own thing." And then he goes, "Well, what about the Grimalkin?" And I was like, "That's brilliant." So then we started giving a copy of my book away to the first place winner, which actually helped with some serious talking to me on my watch, which then started networking with people. It was like, "Oh, my cousin does this," or "Oh, this is going on," or "I gave my book to your niece and she gave it to her teacher and it's now in the library at her school." And it started all of that. So it did super help, but now I need to write more books because I'm out of new product to give to the bowlers.
Well, at least you've got all winter to get that together.
With current health situations that are going on, I have had a lot of writing time.
Okay.
I just had major surgery about 4 weeks ago, and I wrote about 7 chapters during that time.
Wow.
So we're up to a solid 120 pages. So it's about half of a book.
Okay.
And my goal, now that I'm going to put this out in the universe, it's not going to happen because Comic-Con is sneaking up on me. But my goal is to have it done by the end of September so that midway through October, I can get it all edited with my new editor that I found and then have it published by Comic-Con.
Okay.
Which is the first weekend in November.
Wow.
It's not going to happen, but that's my goal.
Hey, I'd have goals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
But that's how the summer bowling tournament started. It was Mike's late night brain baby that he created about a summer tournament that needed to happen. And it started with, I think we started on Wednesday nights the first year. I think it was a Wednesday night sweeper at Southtown. And we only did it for like 10 weeks. And people wanted more. So then we came back the second year. And then I think we moved it to Friday night because everybody was like, oh, it's the middle of the week and, summer and we got stuff going on. So we were like, well, cool, we'll do it Friday because the majority of people are off on Saturday, right? So we started doing that. And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And then, it kind of put a damper on things. But then when everything started to open back up and we were all masked up and the bowling alleys had all their dividers built, Katie was working at Southtown.
Okay.
And they weren't open on Wednesdays. And she was bartending over at Eden Prairie. And she went to Mike and she was like, hey, can you throw a tournament on Wednesdays too so I can be open and I don't have to go bartend? And that's how the 9-pin no tap Grimalkin started.
Okay.
So now we have one Wednesday and we have one on Friday. So it's always the same shot. You can do the 9-pin no tap and then you can bowl on Friday on the exact same pattern. We guarantee that I am paying out 8 spots. If 8 people show up, I am paying it out. Wow. And I don't adjust the prize fund down. I only adjust up.
Okay.
So you are guaranteed. What did I do this year? It was a $25 entry fee because again, the economy, I had to up the price from $20 to $25. But I upped first place from $100 to $150 guaranteed. So it went $150 and then $50 for second place. And then the next 2 spots got $40 a piece. And then the bottom 4 spots got $30 a piece. And then if we were over 32 bowlers, then I increased all the spots. So like I said before, guys, we pay out all the money as long as you show up together on the same day.
Yeah.
But I guarantee top 8 spots. And Mike's looking at it. He's playing with the numbers. He wants to make first place even better for next year. And get the advertising better. We didn't really promote it this year, but we still had pretty good turnout.
Yeah.
But we want to make it so that, it's worth the drive out. And for $25 to win, and then if you play the bet you win pot, that's another $50. So it was $200 for first place for a $30 entry.
Yeah.
You can't be mad about that.
No, you cannot.
Especially when there's only 24 bowlers that showed up that day or whatever the magic number was for the day.
Sure. I asked Jesse about the tournaments too, because not only does he bowl with you, he also bowls That's What I Do. He said that, that you two have come a long way with the tournament. He says he's been bowling since the first or second year of running it. You've built it really well. He says it gives everyone an opportunity to win and gives everyone an opportunity to build friendships with different kind of bowlers, which is interesting that he said that because I can literally in my head hear Mike talking about, well, we can put you on the same pair with your friends, but are you really trying to, be friends or are you here to compete?
Are you win some money?
Yeah.
Right. Oh, Mike called me for half a second on video.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't think he meant to do that.
Mike, I'm telling you, you should come on the show. I always put that on my score sheet. Come on the show, Mike.
Literally, I was just going to say that. Oh, he just texted me. He goes, "Are you done yet?" No, we're going to keep talking until you come home.
We're just getting warmed up.
Yeah, it's only been an hour and a half. Michael, we are going to keep talking until you show up and walk through the door so that you can be on the podcast too.
Right. Now we're gonna give him his own show so he can talk about some.
Well, I'll come show up for his too.
Yeah,
it'll be fun.
There you go.
That's that whole thing, but you start coming and live streaming some bowling tournaments and for us, and I'm sure a trade could be made out with that.
Okay.
But yes, bowling with your friends, I don't understand it. Like
Mhm.
there was years that Mike and I couldn't even bowl anywhere near each other in a bowling alley, right? Because we're always watching each other, and he'd come correct what I'm doing. Because again, I'm an average chick bowler. Like I'm not. So he'd come line me up and be like, "What are you doing? Stand here, throw there," right? Um, I like the tournaments where we do random draws. Personally, like
Mhm.
you can't get mad at me then for
Right.
where I put you because there's some people that are like, I don't want to bowl next to this person. I don't want to bowl over here. They're throwing urethane. There's too many lefties on my pair. I hear all the complaints and I just go, okay, that's nice. High five. Give everyone a high five. High five.
Yeah.
I like when we random draw because
Yeah.
then it's luck of the draw. You can't blame me. You
Mhm.
can't blame you. We
Yeah.
had
Those
somebody
are random.
once have a fit about the Grimalkins. And I don't assign lanes at the Grimalkins because they're just a small fun tournament, right? I go, okay, go pick your lanes 1 through 20.
Yeah.
Pick your own poison. It's
Mhm.
on you who you bowl with, who you bowl next to, and what lane you end up on.
Yeah.
And he literally came in and had a fit afterwards. And I was like, bro, you picked your lane.
Yeah.
And he had to stop and think about it for a second. And he's like, oh, I did pick my lane. It's the same when you show up and
Mm.
you want to bowl with all your friends. Well, they might distract you from what you're doing,
Yep.
and then there's other people who there's certain people that they like to bowl with because their line matches where their line is and they push the wheel properly for each other if they're being consistent that day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of hope and trust that you're putting onto another bowler.
Sure.
But then I'm like, well, you were the one throwing the ball.
Yep.
You chose who you were bowling with.
Mhm.
So the
All
magic
the
rule at
Yeah.
the table is show up early if you want to bowl with your buddies.
There you go.
When you show up at 9:45 for a 10 o'clock start, you're probably going to be on the wall.
Right.
You're not going to be with your friends, and you're going to be angry with me. That is what happens at check-in. They're like, is there any more room on lane 16? Nope, but there's plenty of room on lanes 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And that's where they get put. So,
Sure.
and you guys all hear me say that. Check in with your buddy. If
Yep.
they're not here yet, you better be willing to pay for them.
So how much longer do you see yourself doing this? I mean, you gave Mike a year. It's been years.
And, everybody's working full-time jobs now.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Please know when you message us in the middle of the day, we are at work.
Mhm.
And Mike also has the pro shop that he runs down in Northfield. I don't even know if he wants me to say that, but now I did. He's running a pro shop down in Northfield a few nights of the week, so he's
Mhm.
busy doing that. We both bowl league. We got family. We have elderly parents that we take care of. We got life going on too, so we don't mean to ignore you. I don't know. I don't know how long we'll do it. There's some days that we get done with a tournament and it was a rough one. And we both look at each other like, do we cancel out the rest of the schedule? Are we just done now? Like that was it.
Yeah.
But it's, our bowlers, our bowling community is our dysfunctional, happy family, right?
Yeah.
Like the Perez's, like Jesse and his parents and his brother and his cousin have been coming since like day one.
Mhm.
And there's certain bowlers, like if I don't see them at a tournament, I start getting worried, right? Like, I haven't, no, mom, you're not elderly. I wasn't talking about you. I told you my mom was watching.
Oh.
I wasn't talking about you,
This
mom.
thing is interactive in more ways than one.
Yeah, so, I start worrying if I don't see somebody.
Mhm.
Like we've called people and been like, not that we expect that you have to show up to every tournament. I just want to make sure you're cool. Like,
Right.
you good?
Yeah.
And we've done that. Like, we know that Larry Steinmiller is going to show up for the second shift at almost every tournament. And he tells us when he's not going to be there. Like that, we're used to that. If
Yeah.
I don't see the Perez's for an entire month at tournaments, I start calling them. Like, I'm like, hey, I'm just checking on you, making sure you're okay.
Yeah.
So it is a great, happy, dysfunctional family that we have. Like, there's some days that we want to kill each other, like a normal family, and there's other days that we're like, all right, our core bowlers are here, and we're all hanging out, and we're just having a great time.
Yeah.
So
So in the stars
forever,
forever. All right.
forever, or maybe a week. I don't know. It kind of depends on how each tournament goes.
There you go. All right. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
We'll put it.
Yeah.
We'll make it that way. On the subject of stay tuned, I should probably at least remind people that the best way to help me in this whole endeavor is to subscribe to the channel. Just hover or click over that logo on the right. You will be the first to know when we go live and post new videos. Plus, you'll be doing me a solid and helping me grow this thing. And I appreciate all of you that have subscribed so far. And in the spirit of bringing more content to you, we do this thing called Off the Sheet, and that's where I ask you to challenge somebody else. Doesn't have to be the greatest bowler in the world, but certainly can be, to come on a future episode. We look for people who are passionate about the sport of bowling and have an interesting, unique story to tell, which we all do. So, Dani Hatten, who would you like to challenge to be on a future episode of Bowling with the Fef?
The easy answer would be my husband, because I know that would make you happy.
Oh yeah.
That would be the real easy answer, but I'm
Plus,
gonna
I've
leave
got the
my
pictures handy,
right, and I'll send you way more when he's actually on.
Okay.
That's the easy answer.
Yeah.
Ben, you wrote too much. I'm not reading all that. And but I'm gonna challenge Brady Stearns.
Okay.
So I am a Brady Stearns fangirl, and
Yep.
here's why. Everyone, either secretly or not so secretly, is scared to bowl Brady in their own right? Because Brady's amazing at bowling.
Hey,
I love Brady.
I don't want to have to take him on for money or really anything at all.
Well, I'm kind of a smart ass and a little bit cocky sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And I know I'm just an average bowler, but Brady humors me all the time because people are like, oh, Brady's here. Brady's here. And here's the great thing about Brady. He doesn't win all the time, guys. Like, yeah, he's gone and bowled all this PBA stuff and he's shot a 900. He's awesome.
Yeah.
But that he doesn't win every tournament he goes to.
Mm-hmm.
And I promise you, if you see Brady at our tournaments, he doesn't play brackets. He does that for all you guys. He doesn't play them. He just comes to bowl. Yeah, I like to put that out there. People get in line. They're like, is Brady playing brackets? Is Brady playing brackets? He's not playing, guys. But he is so polite and so nice. He is just a great guy. And, he humors me. Because I always tell him, I go, I'm coming for you, Brady.
Yeah.
Like, I used to show up when Mike was running King of the Hill tournaments out at Pins, back when he was working out at the pro shop out there. Brady would show up and I'd be like, oh, I'm coming for you, Brady. I'm going to beat you. And I would be on the bot. It was a scratch tournament. I averaged 150. No business bowling with these guys. I'm just there to practice, right? And Brady would humor me. And then I'd finally be like, Brady, where should I stand? And he looked at me once. He goes, no, you're coming for me, remember? I'll teach you when you're done.
Not giving you hints.
Yeah. But he is, it might be different when you're bowling against him, right? Because I haven't competitively in a serious setting bowled against Brady. But he's always so nice and so sweet. And I would love to hear his story.
Yeah, me too. From a tremendous bowling family in the St. Cloud, Minnesota area. Brady, if you are watching, please let me know if you're interested. You can shoot me a DM on Facebook or email me at bowlingwiththefef@yahoo.com. We will certainly make that happen. Our next show's coming up next Wednesday. We've got Ralph Hibbert, another tremendous bowling family, this one from the Milwaukee area. He is going to be joining us September 20th, 7 p.m. Central. Be sure and come on back for that. Dani, if there are bowlers out there who want to get involved in That's What I Do, try it out, maybe go to a bunch of your events, where's the starting point for those folks?
There are so many options for everyone to come see us. Our schedules are hung up at a lot of the bowling alleys. They promote within for us. Thank you, centers, for doing that. You can just show up to a tournament. You can literally show up to a tournament and just be like, "Hi, I've never bowled before. What's going on?" We're gonna pull up USBC, give you a certified average. If you don't have an average, you usually start off with like a 191. So it's a little bit, but you get a tournament average with us after you start bowling. So that don't be afraid of that. You can sign up on Facebook. We have a Facebook page, which is That's What I Do Bowling. We have a website, which is that'swhatidobowling.com. You can sign up either on Facebook or on the website. If you're friends with Mike or I on Facebook, we will send out invites. I'm a little more on it with inviting people than Mike is with that. But you can sign up there. You can come with a buddy. If you have a friend that bowls our tournaments, just hop in the car. Come bowl. We love new bowlers. We'll take you on. If you are a center and you want us to come out, reach out to Mike. Don't reach out to me. Reach out to Mike. That's his deal. And he'll get you on the schedule. He'll work out pricing with you and get you on the schedule.
Yeah. And if for some reason you can't find them through the Facebook, through the website, can't get to Mike for, all you centers out there, find me. I'll make the love connection and we'll get you guys hooked up. And
maybe you'll see Fef out on the lanes or coming and doing some live streams if his wife lets him come out every Sunday.
That's the hard sell, right?
Yeah, you go ahead and show her that part.
We'll have
It'll
to
be
talk.
fun.
Yeah, it would be. No, we'll talk about that offline. But no, a tremendous tournament, and really, thank you for for all you and Mike put into these. I mean, like I said, for me, it's kind of an in-betweener thing because I want to compete, but don't really have the the tools to go out and win a CBA. But it's a quality event, and I think that's something that is really valuable both in the Twin Cities and in the bowling community at large.
Oh, we really appreciate that. We appreciate all the support that you do for us too, and I'm glad that you asked me 15 times to come on the show and that we finally talked me into
we finally made it happen. Well, if you like doing this, I know Derek's chomping at the bit to get you on, so maybe there will be another live stream in your future. We'll see. Well, like I said, that's another thing that we'll talk about offline. But thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it. And thanks to all of you who, watched us live and on replay. Thanks so much. It's been a great time as usual. Again, next Wednesday is when we're back. Just fear not, and have a great week.